Welcome back to my top 100 games of the decade, but before we begin, here's a fact from the decade. Of the roughly 8.3 billion metric tons of plastics produced worldwide since the 1950s, about 6.3 billion have been thrown away, according to a 2017 study in the journal Science Advances. Yakuza 0. What a game! Yakuza is a franchise that keeps on surprising, from the insanity of the combat to the absurdity of the side missions interspersed with a serious story, to the down-to-earth minigames, and there's also karaoke, which I am all for. Yakuza 0 was my first Yakuza game, so I can't imagine what it's like to play if you had played the others first. I won't spoil it for you, but characters go through so many different personality shifts as it's set 15 years prior. For example, the Mad Dog Majima is a dignified cabaret club owner. Still an absolute badass, but it's such a weird tonal shift which I just love. But I had no idea this was such a weird shift at the time. It's just such a unique experience to enter the series this way, which I'm actually really glad about. God of War PS4, a much more mature take on the series. We're past the era of Greek gods as we enter the Norse realm, and the game's opening lets you know what you're in for. One of the saddest, most powerful scenes, moving straight into learning the game in a thrilling way, culminating in an epic boss fight. And that's just the first hour. And the game's certainly not hit its peak then. This whole game's dynamic is completely different to that of the previous games. Back then it was anger and reaction, now it's composed and deliberate. You are in control of the situation, even if the situation is bleak and filled with many enemies that can rip your flesh apart. The combat is so much more sturdy. The Leviathan axe gives you so much more freedom and strategy instead of just barging in with some chains. That said, if you want to just barge in with the axe, there's nothing stopping you. The most memorable part for me personally is Kratos bonding with his son Atreus. They have a complicated relationship and it's explored beautifully as the game goes on. Atreus has to step up to being an adult at a time in his life where it's just simply impossible to do that. He's just a boy, and it's quite inspiring to watch that unfold. It's very easy to fall into the trap of creating a false dynamic, or creating an annoying character, but the writers, the actors, everyone else absolutely nailed the correct vibe, and it made this journey a lot more memorable. The Last of Us. The intro to this game makes me cry every single time. It's so wonderfully told, obviously in the most tragic way possible. A zombie outbreak occurs, and now it's 20 years later after the most depressing scene in the universe. Joel is depressed, and who wouldn't be? But hope comes along in the shape of Ellie, a young woman who seems to be immune to infection. She might just be the key to curing the infected and stopping this worldwide pandemic. Joel and Ellie take a very long trip to a facility that can hopefully create a cure with Ellie's help. And here we are, a tragic, sometimes depressing, sometimes heartwarming story about two survivors hoping to make lives better. That's the thing though, cure or not, would lives get better? The human race has been decimated by this, and some cultures are vile. The world has changed, philosophies have changed, people have adapted to survive by any means necessary, and the more dangerous individuals won't simply change their ways at the drop of a hat. There's a lot of interesting debates that can be discussed from what the game tells us and also what it doesn't. In terms of gameplay, you can use firearms, stealth, and crafted weapons to defeat the infected and desperately try to survive. If you haven't played this game, you need to before Part 2 releases next year. Similarly to how this game was a game changer for the genre, I think that one will be too. Thank you very much for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, share the video around, also on Twitch, Twitter and a Patreon if you would like to support me and the channel. Thank you so much for all your support, it really means a lot. Tell me, what's been some of your favourite games of the decade? I would love to know. But I'm going to keep producing these and it's going to be amazing, and I'm looking forward to telling you my top 10. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care, bye bye.